Hello everybody, your GP in Scrubs is back. It's nearly 4 o'clock in the morning. I can't find any better time to talk about healthy diet as I promised last time. I had to realize that it's quite a broad topic and I won't be able to condense it into one single video, so it will be a series. Bear with me. If you want, make sure you subscribe so you won't miss the next one. I just couldn't find where to start, so I thought let's define what healthy diet means to you, because I find that despite there's a lot of information out there, people have very different beliefs of healthy diet. For example, when I ask my patients about it, they say very often, oh, they have a very healthy diet because they eat a lot of fruit and vegetable. That's great. Other people say that yes, they have a very healthy diet because they don't eat fast food and they don't eat takeaways. That's very good news too. Or when I talk to a patient with gallbladder problems and I attempt to give them advice on a low-fat diet, they almost feel offended because they say they don't eat fat at all. It only shows that they just don't know what they eat. So I thought, let's have a little quiz to start with. If you want to, take a pen and a piece of paper, write down numbers from 1 till 11, and with the next slide I will ask the question, what do you think about that food that I've taken a picture of the package. I only show a piece of a package first, so just make a tick or make a cross if you feel it's healthy or unhealthy. You can pause the video and just find out more of the details of that slide. When you're finished with that one, I will show you in the next few slides the whole package, so you can find out whether you had ticks and X's on the same food. The whole aim of this little quiz is to show how confusing food packaging is, and the last one would be just a comparison exercise, because most of the time we are not 100% sure whether it's a fully healthy choice, but we often choose from two things that we think one is superior to another in terms of health benefits. So common things that we need to choose from, whether it's butter or margarine, or whether it's squash or 100% fruit juice that we take, or the third one, whether it's equally good to have a healthy looking cereal bar, or whether it's worth to invest time in making cakes and snacks at home. I won't show you the answers at this stage. Please just follow me through the series, and at the end hopefully we will have some clarity on all these things. I wasn't sure how much physiology you want to hear, but at the end I had to realize that without basic gastrointestinal physiology, like how the digestive system works and how it's regulated, it's very difficult to give advice that doesn't sound pathetic. So I would like you to have a little insight of the whole system, and then you will be able to make your own choices. On the first slide, you see the brain, and the brain hormones that produce the sensation of hunger and satiety. You don't need to remember the names of the hormones, I won't ask you later at all. And you have the peripheral organs, as we call them, so the digestive system, all the way down from the nose and the tongue to the stomach, the small intestine, and all the glands around it, and the large intestine. And also you see the stores, which would be the fat stores, and the carbohydrate stores, which mainly take place in the liver. All these organs are connected with messenger molecules through the nervous system and through the endocrine or hormone system. It's very, very complex. I try to get my head around it. I have to admit that I understand some superficial aspects of it, and I try to make it simple for you to understand how it works. Ghrelin is the only hunger hormone that we have that's produced in the bottom of the stomach, and it rises before we start eating, and then it goes down as we finish the meal. And there are the satiety hormones that produced in different parts of the guts and intestine, and send messages to the brain that we had enough, we don't need more food, so we start to feel full, we start to have satiety, and at the same time the hunger hormone drops. What triggers these changes in the hormone levels? What makes us hungry and what makes us feel full? Different aspects of the meals. One is the volume of it, because the stomach has baroreceptors. It means that it feels the tension. So when the stomach is physically full, we feel full. But if you imagine eating only lettuce leaves with tomatoes, you can have a large portion of it and you feel physically full in the stomach, but probably you won't have the satisfaction like after a normal meal. Because the body is capable of counting calories and also sorting what kind of nutrients we have in the meal and in what proportion. The body uses chemoreceptors and osmoreceptors for this. If we have high calorie content food, it slows down the stomach emptying to give time to the guts to digest and absorb the nutrients from the food. And at the same time, it's sending messages to the brain. It's high calorie content food, so we don't need that much. The tricky thing that these hormones need time to being produced. These hormone levels start to rise minimum after 15 minutes, but some of them are much slower and they start to be produced after 30 minutes or some hours. Some of them have a shorter regulation time for a few hours. Others have effect over 24 hours, regulating our overall 24-hour food intake. And it's also fine-tuned by the nervous system, which would be the autonomic nervous system, namely the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Without overwhelming you with the details, simply sympathetic is suppressing the digestive system. The main messenger molecule of the sympathetic nervous system is adrenaline. So when you think of a situation when your adrenaline level rises, it's not a time really to sit down for a meal. This is why it is suppressed. You don't need much focus on digestion those times. On the other side, when you are nice and relaxed, you are taken away by the parasympathetic tones, and it's time to have some meal to relax, to chill out. So these hormonal and nervous messages just tie in nicely. Talking about the long-term regulation of food intake and calorie intake, you see these peripheral stores like the liver for carbohydrate and the fatty tissue for fat. These are also sending messages. The fat produces a hormone called leptin, and if we have more fat, the leptin level is higher, and it suppresses the appetite and increases the feeling of satiety, so we wouldn't eat as much. It would reduce the portion sizes. Adiponectin is another hormone produced by the fatty tissue, and it has a very important link between the liver and the fat. So this explains why in diabetes, where the fat tissue is massive, then it causes problems with glucose production in the liver. So an ideal meal would be proportionate in terms of volume and calorie content. So as you are filling up the tummy, you are getting enough calories. Just if you go back to the previous example, the lettuce leaves, you eat loads of lettuce, you fill your stomach, but the calorie content is low, so you won't feel satisfied. An opposite example would be if you eat just calorie dense food like sandwiches or spaghetti bolognese, then your volume content goes up just a little bit, but your calorie content goes up to the requirement quite quickly. And looking into the average meal duration in the UK, they found it's 21 minutes. If you remember, all the satiety hormones, the quickest one doesn't start to be produced within 15 minutes. So by the time we start to feel satisfied because of the high calorie intake, then we already filled up our stomach with the calorie dense food, not giving enough time for the guts to have a sensation of the content of the stomach to send satiety messages to the brain to stop eating, because we rely on the baroreceptors, the tension receptors in the stomach, but they mismatch between the volume and the calorie content. I hope it makes sense. This is a common mistake that we make. So ideally it would be a lighter meal which contains a lot of water and fibers to fill up the stomach on one side, but contains enough calories to make you feel satisfied. And if you think of eating a lot of vegetables which are high in calories and high in water together with your main meal, or with any meal actually, then it means that it really slows down your meal, because you need to chew on that carrot, you need to chew on that tomato or lettuce. So it looks a perfectly harmonized system, but we don't only eat for nutrition, do we? At least I don't. we also eat for pleasure, because it's nice. And you know, you won't be surprised to hear that there's a system set up to it. Here comes the nose and the taste buds on the tongue, because feeling the smell of the food and feeling the taste of the food, also seeing the food itself, which is more like a learned link, it sends messages to the brain that we are actually hungry, and it's completely independent of the other two mechanisms of hunger, like calorie need and stomach fullness. So it means that when you see something that's nice, you fancy it and you feel hungry, and it modifies your behavior towards eating it. If you didn't have that sensory input, probably it wouldn't get into your mind to eat, because generally you're not hungry. And as you keep eating the same food, you get satisfied with the same taste, and after a while, repeatedly having the same sensory input, it will just trigger satisfaction. But it not necessarily mean that you are absolutely satisfied from the other two mechanisms. So it explains why sometimes, especially children, at least my children, feel that, oh, they are full with their roast dinner, they can't have another bite, they leave some on the plate, but then 2 minutes later they're absolutely happy to eat their pudding. So they still find some space in the stomach somehow. So this mechanism explains it. They were full with one taste, but actually they fancied a different taste. Again, it ties in nicely, it's a perfect system, but you can mess it up. With time and effort and repeated wrong habits, then you can suppress these nice balance of ups and downs of hunger and satiety hormones. And this is what I will talk about next time. In the meantime, if you have any questions, just drop me a message in the comment box. See you next time. Bye bye.